What happens when a Hollywood star, known for humility and depth, faces a host who knows no boundaries in her provocations? This conflict on The View became one of those moments etched forever in viewers' minds. Keanu Reeves, beloved by millions, came to the show to promote his new film, but no one was prepared for what happened next. The studio froze, the audience held their breath, and social media exploded with debates. Here's how this dramatic story unfolded. It was a sunny morning in New York. The View studio buzzed with anticipation. Bright spotlights bathed the stage in warm light, and the hum of the audience created an air of excitement. On the large screen behind the hosts, clips from Keanu Reeves' new action movie, Shadows of the Past, flickered, promising to bring the actor back to his iconic action roles. The audience erupted in applause as the hosts, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Haynes, and Sunny Hostin, chatted cheerfully, preparing for the interview. Keanu entered the stage with his signature, easygoing smile. His long dark hair was tied back in a ponytail, and a simple black suit underscored his unpretentious style. The audience roared with applause, and even Joy, known for her sharp tongue, greeted him warmly. "Keanu, you look like you just stepped off a motorcycle," she quipped, drawing laughter from the crowd. "Maybe I did," Keanu replied, smiling, and took a seat on the guest couch. His voice was soft but carried a hint of irony that always made him so relatable. The first few minutes of the interview were light-hearted. Sarah Haynes asked about the filming of Shadows of the Past, and Keanu eagerly shared stories about performing his own stunts. Whoopi threw in a few jokes about his eternal "guy who never ages" image, while Sunny inquired about his charitable work. The atmosphere was friendly, and it seemed like this would be another pleasant celebrity interview. But tension was already brewing. Joy Behar, sitting at the edge of the table, flipped through her notes, with a barely noticeable smirk that hinted at something more than a casual chat about movies. The conversation smoothly shifted to Keanu's personal values. Sunny Hostin, with her characteristic seriousness, asked, "Keanu, you're known for your humility. You donate huge sums to charity but rarely talk about it. Why do you choose that path?" Keanu paused, his gaze deepening for a moment. "I just think help should be quiet. It's not about praise, it's about making someone's life better," he replied, earning soft applause from the audience. But Joy, who had been silent until now, suddenly leaned forward, holding her pen like a weapon. Her eyes glinted, and she said, "Keanu, that all sounds very sweet, but let's be honest. You're a Hollywood star living in luxury. Doesn't it seem like this humility is just a way to dodge real responsibility? You make films glorifying violence and then donate money to ease your conscience." Silence fell. The audience, which had just been clapping, froze. Sarah Haynes gave a nervous smile, while Whoopi Goldberg raised her eyebrows, shooting a quick glance at Joy. Keanu, however, remained composed. His face stayed calm, though a faint tension flickered in his eyes. "I don't think art and charity contradict each other," he responded, choosing his words carefully. "Films are a way to tell stories, and stories can inspire. As for the money, I do what I can to help." Joy didn't back down. Her voice grew sharper, her smile dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, come on, Keanu. You're not a saint. You play heroes who shoot and beat people up, then pose as a philosopher pondering the meaning of life. Doesn't that feel a bit hypocritical?" The click of Keanu adjusting his microphone echoed in the studio like a gunshot. The audience fell silent, and even the camera operators, usually smooth in their movements, froze for a moment. Sarah Haynes tried to intervene. "Joy, I think Keanu meant that." But Joy cut her off, her eyes locked on Keanu. "No, Sarah, I want to hear what he says. People love you, Keanu, but aren't you hiding behind this nice guy mask?" The tension in the studio became palpable. Producers backstage began whispering urgently, and one nervously gestured to a camera operator to zoom in on Keanu's face. His fingers, resting on the armrest of the couch, subtly gripped the fabric. But his voice remained calm. "Joy, I'm not hiding. I just live the way I think is right. If you think that's a mask, that's your right. But I'm not here to prove anything to you or anyone else. A few tentative claps came from the audience, but Joy only smiled wider. She clearly wasn't planning to stop. Joy leaned in closer, her voice taking on an almost theatrical drama. Keanu, I've heard you avoid serious political topics. All these stories about your charity are great, but why do you never take a clear stance? Don't you think stars of your caliber should use their platform to fight, not just for inspiring stories? This time, Whoopi Goldberg couldn't hold back. She raised a hand, trying to defuse the situation. Joy, let's give Keanu a chance to talk about his movie. Not everything's about politics. But Joy waved her off. Whoopi, I just want a real conversation. Keanu, you can't hide behind your charisma and sad eyes forever. People want to know who you really are. The studio fell silent. The hum of the cameras was the only sound breaking the stillness. The audience, initially clapping, now sat in suspense, some pulling out their phones to record. Keanu leaned forward slowly, his gaze hardening. Joy, he began, and his voice, though quiet, carried a weight that made everyone hold their breath. I'm not hiding. I don't play games for ratings. And I don't think I need to justify to you or anyone how I live or what I do. He paused, and at that moment, the camera zoomed in on his face. His eyes, always so expressive, now burned with quiet anger but also vulnerability, the same vulnerability that made him a favorite of millions. You want to know who I am? He continued. I'm a person who's lost people I love. I'm a person who knows what pain is. And I try to make this world a little better without shouting about it on every corner. If you think that's hypocrisy, maybe you should look in the mirror and ask why you're using this platform to tear people down. The audience erupted in applause, but it was nervous, as if people couldn't decide whether this was a performance or a real conflict. Joy, however, didn't look fazed. She leaned back in her chair, folding her arms, and said, Oh, that was a good speech, Keanu. But let's not pretend you're not playing to the crowd. That was the moment the studio felt a line had been crossed. Sarah Haynes covered her face with her hands, Sunny Hostin exchanged nervous glances with Whoopi, and the producers backstage began whispering frantically. Keanu slowly stood from the couch, and the click of his boots on the stage rang out like thunder in the silence. I came here to talk about my movie, he said, his voice low and calm but laced with steel. But if you want to show Joy, you'll have to find another actor. He turned to the audience, his gaze softening. Thank you for your support. You're the reason I keep doing what I do. With those words, Keanu Reeves headed for the exit. The studio erupted into chaos. Applause mixed with shouts. Some audience members stood, and producers rushed to the control booth, trying to figure out what to do next. Joy sat, lips pursed, her face a mix of surprise and defiance. The View studio was on the brink of chaos. Keanu Reeves stood at the edge of the stage, his figure in a black suit stark against the bright spotlights that seemed to shine even brighter, amplifying the tension. His last words, "If you want to show Joy, you'll have to find another actor," still hung in the air, and the audience, torn between shock and admiration, couldn't take their eyes off him. The click of his boots on the stage floor cut through the silence like a knife as he took a step toward the exit. But Joy Behar, never one to lose control of a situation, couldn't let him leave so easily. "Keanu, come on, don't be so sensitive," she called out, her voice dripping with sarcasm but tinged with nervousness. "You're a Hollywood star, you should be ready for tough questions. Or are you just afraid of the truth?" Those words stopped Keanu in his tracks. He slowly turned, and at that moment, the camera operator, sensing the drama, zoomed in on his face. His eyes, usually warm, now burned with quiet but unyielding anger. The audience froze, sensing something unforgettable was about to happen. Even the producers backstage, whispering frantically through headsets, fell silent. Whoopi Goldberg, seated at the table, clenched her fists, as if pleading for the situation not to spiral further. Sarah Haynes and Sunny Hostin exchanged quick glances, their faces a mix of discomfort and anxiety. Keanu took a deep breath, his shoulders subtly squaring. He turned back to Joy, and his voice, when he spoke, was low but clear, each syllable carved in stone. "Joy, I'm not afraid of the truth," he said, pausing to let his words sink in. "I'm afraid of what people like you do with the truth. You take someone's life, their actions, and twist them to make a show. You call that journalism? I call it humiliation." The audience erupted in applause, louder and bolder this time. Some stood, others began filming on their phones, knowing this moment would go viral. Joy, however, remained unfazed. She leaned back in her chair, arms folded, with a defiant smile. "Oh, Keanu, you really know how to play to the crowd," she said. "But tell me, why do you avoid responsibility? You make films that glorify violence and then hide behind charity. That's not humiliation, it's reality." Her words hit like a slap. The studio fell silent again, the hum of the cameras barely audible. Keanu stood motionless, but his eyes narrowed, his fists subtly clenched. He took a step back toward the couch, his calm but powerful presence making everyone feel the weight of the moment. "You want to talk about reality, Joy?" His voice grew quieter but carried a force that demanded attention. "Reality is losing people you love. Reality is fighting pain every day but still finding the strength to get up and do something good. I don't hide behind charity. I do what I can to help. And you? You sit here, throwing accusations to get your 5 minutes of fame. Who's the hypocrite here?" The studio exploded. Applause, shouts, even tears. The audience was enraptured. Some yelled, "Keanu, you're right!" while others sat in stunned silence. Whoopi Goldberg, who had tried to stay neutral, raised her hands as if surrendering and muttered, "Lord, Joy, you earned that one." Sarah Haynes let out a nervous laugh, trying to lighten the mood, but her voice trembled. "Well, this is definitely going down in TV history." Joy, however, wouldn't back down. Her face flushed, she stood abruptly, pointing at Keanu. "You can't just come here, deliver a dramatic speech, and walk away, Keanu. People have a right to know who you really are." But Keanu was done listening. He turned to the audience, his gaze a mix of dignity and vulnerability. "I'm not perfect," he said, addressing the crowd rather than Joy. "I'm just a person trying to be better. If you see something good in me, thank you. If not, that's your right. But I won't let anyone twist my life for a show." With that, he turned and walked off the stage. His footsteps echoed loudly in the studio, and the click of the backstage door was the final note. The studio descended into chaos. Applause mixed with shouts, some audience members stood, and producers rushed to the control booth. Joy stood, lips pursed, her face a mix of anger and shock. Whoopi, Sunny, and Sarah sat in silence, unsure how to continue the show. As the show cut to a commercial break, the studio still buzzed with emotion. The audience was divided. Some cheered Keanu for his dignity, others felt Joy had a right to ask tough questions. On social media, the moment went viral instantly. Clips of Keanu's comeback racked up millions of views, and the hashtag Keanu vs. Joy trended worldwide. Some called Keanu a hero for standing up for himself, while others accused him of being overly sensitive. Joy faced a barrage of criticism, though her supporters argued she was just doing her job. Backstage, the View producers were in a panic. One, clutching a phone, shouted, "This will either destroy us or make the show the highest rated of the year." Whoopi, trying to calm things down after the break, addressed the audience. "Well, what can I say? This is The View. We always speak the truth, even when it hurts." But it was clear even she hadn't been prepared for this turn of events. The clash between Keanu Reeves and Joy Behar became more than just a TV moment, it became a symbol of the fight for respect and dignity. Keanu, who always avoided scandals, showed that even the calmest people have a line that can't be crossed. His words about loss, pain, and the desire to do good resonated with millions, reminding everyone that behind every star is a human with their own struggles. Joy, meanwhile, received both support for her boldness and criticism for crossing the line between journalism and humiliation. This moment sparked reflection. Where is the line between free speech and respect for another person? Did Keanu do the right thing by walking off, or should he have stayed to continue the debate? And does a host have the right to use their platform for personal attacks in the name of ratings? What do you think about this conflict? Who was right, Keanu or Joy? Should stars be prepared for such provocations, or should hosts know their limits? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to catch more stories like this.